Welcome to episode 2, Dose of No Bullsh Business with me, Jacqueline. I am excited today to be jumping into our first marketing topic. My last episode was all about who I am, which you can go find on my channel or in a link below. And this episode is going to be our first time really delving into a business and marketing topic. And I'm going to be addressing my number one detested lie, myth, whatever you want to call it, in marketing. And that is a magic word that a lot of us have heard thrown around many times. That word is impressions. So, what is an impression? Why and how did people become so obsessed with impressions? And how is that a bad gauge of activity? Why is it kind of a lie that we're told by marketers, by people at companies who are trying to sell us things? And what really matters in this digital era where we can track so much, where there's so much to be doing? What really matters? So let's jump into it. First thing, what is an impression? It's a little hard to define. An impression is just a moment where you are impressed upon by a brand. So for example, I have my iPhone here. Apple is amazing at impressions because they're everywhere. Every day I see the Apple logo, I see it on my computer, I see it on the computers of many people, which is why it was really smart to put that Apple face up. Steve Jobs did that on purpose. An impression is the amount of times that you've come into contact with a brand. So this is an awesome metric for huge companies, right? Like Apple, like Coca-Cola. They have so many customers, so much brand recognition that all that really matters to them is having their image out there. Now, for someone who is trying to scale a business, who's trying to grow in a specific sector, who's trying to measure performance, whether you're a small company, but especially for smaller companies and organizations, or a larger company, there's just much more that you can do beyond measuring an impression in today's technical zeitgeist. So, how did people become so enamored by impressions? What's the history behind this? Before the internet and at the beginning of the internet, long, long ago, when people watched TV and could only see advertisements on subways and on buses and on those big billboards that we see outside, impressions were the only option for marketers. You could only hope that you have your billboard out on the highway and that it got someone's attention, the right person's attention. Of course, there's some kind of guidelines that you could use to try to get in front of the right people. For example, on Saturday morning during cartoon shows, they used to show toy commercials because that's when kids would see them with their parents, or kids would see the cereal box that I was just mentioning, and when they were at the store, they'd beg mom and dad for that. I was definitely guilty of that. I was guilty of much more than that. Every commercial I saw, I remember I used to ask my parents to take me to Sleepy's to get a mattress all the time, which is strange, but that's how impressions work. They are kind of, they put something out there, hopefully it's the right place, the right time. You see it, you love it, you want it, and it's really a game of who has the most money to be the most places, to be the most omnipresent. So back when this was the only option, not so long ago, 15, 20 years ago, this was all the rage because you couldn't do anything else. It made marketing pretty clear cut or pretty clean cut. The problem with this today is that there are so many ways to track different types of actions online. You can track the very specific demographics of your audience. Who are they? What's their gender? Where do they live? What is their income range? What do they like, etc. You can track whether they have read your blog about baby shoes or your blog about men's shoes. You can track whether they stopped halfway through the page, saw the price tag, and got turned off. You can track, how much it costs for someone to make a purchase on your website. You can track how much it costs for someone to become an email subscriber to your newsletter. This extends far beyond e-commerce too. You can track how much it costs to get someone to send a letter to their representative, for example. You can start to create a community and measure who resonates with your message the most if you're an organization, and then grow that audience out even more and feed them the right kind of content. So my frustration with impressions isn't that they're not useful at all. Of course, like I said, if you're Apple, if you come into contact with a great product many times per day, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But it shouldn't be the first-ditch effort for every single marketer, and it is not for everyone. So my pet peeve with this is that a lot of marketers will sell to clients, from small clients to larger clients, on the idea of impressions. The idea that if you give me, $1,000 in ad spend, I'm gonna get you a bunch of impressions. Well, I'm here to tell you, and you might know this already or have this feeling in your gut that you just haven't wanted to talk about, but when you pay for impressions, the thing is, anyone can pay for impressions, especially on Facebook and Instagram and Google and all of these different platforms. The more money you spend, the more impressions you get. So it's a foolproof way to guarantee success. If you give me $1 million, you bet your hiney that you're gonna get millions of impressions, because that's just how ad buying works. That doesn't mean that anything's going to come of it. It doesn't mean that you've targeted the right audience. It doesn't mean that anyone's taken an action beyond just looking at your video or scrolling past your logo. So I just dislike that as a performance metric in today's era, especially within the realm of digital marketing and within the realm of traditional marketing. So let's talk about what does matter. So there's a bunch of different things that you can measure, as I just sort of rambled on about. But these are actions that I think are much more fruitful to track through advertising, especially, but also just through, organic visits to your website or app or whatever it is. Email conversions. What does it take to get someone to sign up for your email list? Why is that important? Because email is the cheapest and most profitable way to retarget people without having to pay for another ad, and to be able to say whatever the heck you want to them. So if you are in the alternative health business or cannabis or whatever, and you have problems with advertising, you immediately need to get someone's email, because you can educate them about your brand without having to pass certain restrictions on Facebook and other platforms. Email is so important for everyone. This goes for text message marketing too. If you're talking about Gen Z, that might be a good route. But how much does it cost you ad spend wise to get an email? Does it cost $1? But then, every 10 emails you get, someone turns into a really great customer? That's something that you can think about. Another thing to think about is, how much does it cost to get you a purchase? So you might want to know, which is really great information, how much does it cost for me to convert someone from an ad into a buyer? So is it $10 for me to convert someone into a buyer and the average cart value is $20? that's great. That means that you acquire a customer at a bit of a profit. So that is a great metric if you can measure that. Another thing for nonprofits that we've helped a lot of people figure out is how much does it cost to get a donation? So maybe you are, trying to build your nonprofit and you want to find monthly donors. It costs $10 to get a donor, to donate $10 the first month, but then they stay around for an average of 2 years. Important information to know so that you can scale that up. Signing up for a membership, downloading an app. These are all action-based, action-driven conversion events. And it's so important to understand that those are much stronger indicators of success in a campaign. And not only that, but while you're tracking for all of those great action-driven, responses, you're also getting impressions naturally, but you're optimizing your campaigns for activity instead of impressions. So you're getting both, and you're getting impressions with the right audiences, which is wonderful. Then the last thing I want to mention is traditional media. So I don't want to throw out billboards or TV commercials or any of that. I actually think now it's super interesting because you can tie those things into this digital world. So for example, we've run campaigns where the billboard is really interesting and it has a QR code that leads you to a digital page that we can then track and understand how the billboard is having an impact on an organization or a company. So there are a lot of unique ways to kind of bring something from the traditional realm to the digital realm. And I just wanted to leave you with that parcel of knowledge, that food for thought. And I hope this has been helpful. Sorry if you've heard some snorting. I have a Frenchie who just walked in the middle of this recording. And he's a crazy dog. And I would love to hear your questions, your thoughts. If you disagree with me, comment below and let me know if there's anything you'd like me to cover next time. Okay, thank you and have a great day.